Welcome everybody to the Torture Man Mancast, episode 43. We are now heading into the playoffs, and we're going to discuss some of what happened in the very last week, which wasn't a whole lot, but we will talk about the things that are pertinent there. We're going to talk about some of the other great things that are going on in the NFL. We're going to talk about some of the new great young players that have come into the NFL this year that we've observed. And we're going to talk about a couple of teams that by subtraction they gained. And I have a few things that I need to talk about when we get to them. But first, I'm going to pass it over to Chad to see what's on his mind. And what did you think of last weekend? And did anything surprise you or take you off guard?
We were just talking about this, my brother. Top of my mind is CJ Stroud. I just can't say enough about the kid. He, I understand he was, top pick in the draft. He was number 2, could have been number 1, yada yada
Should have been
yada. There was
number
a lot
one.
of should have been number 1. Clearly, you called it. But he's like an old soul. I don't understand the stoicism. It's bizarre how ready he is for the moment. And normally I would not bet on a rookie going into his first season like this, into the off season like that. But I've just seen so much poise that I have so much belief in this kid. I think they're going to go far into the playoffs. And to me, that's such a huge storyline. And with the Browns coming in town, and I think that makes it a little more interesting just because of the whole Deshaun thing.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Man, I'm looking forward to, and I know that's the reason why I want to talk about it first is because of the beautiful storyline, but because it's the first game of the weekend. But anyway, I know you got something else on your mind.
I got it. No, but I want to stick with CJ Stroud
Yeah,
for a
follow
second
up. Go ahead.
because after the game, and this young man just beat a pretty good football team who was also fighting for their playoff life. It was literally a playoff game before the playoffs started. They came out on top and they won the AFC South, which no person ever predicted. I mean, no one. And after the game, one of the sideline reporters, I probably think for ESPN, came up to him and said, "How do you do this? How do you stay so calm in these big moments in front of a packed house on national television?" And he said, calm as a cucumber without even joking. He goes, "Yeah, I played at Ohio State where there was 108,000 people. So the smaller crowd is a little easier for me to deal with than I'm used to." What the fuck? I love this kid, man.
I heard him on McAfee say something very similar to that as well. He
I'm
doubled
telling
down
you,
on
man.
it.
I'm like, no shit.
Yeah, he's just like, no.
That stadium, he just won the AFC South and holds like 85,000 people. He comes from a stadium and almost won a national champion in a stadium that holds 108,000 people. So yeah, the smaller crowd makes it a little easier.
Yeah, McAfee's asking him about the stadium in Indy, and he's like, "Yeah, it was pretty loud. It was almost as loud as a college stadium."
That's what that's
fucking moxie, bro.
I mean, come look, if you're a quarterback coming from one of the top 10 programs in the country, NFL stadiums are smaller than what you're used to playing in. Alabama owns Michigan, Penn State, Georgia, all of these stadiums, USC, they all hold like 105 plus thousand people.
Fair observation, but let's not take away from the fact this guy had the moxie to not only notice but to say.
Oh yeah, right.
On national television.
This goes to your point that this kid in his head is living on a different level than every other 23-year-old on planet Earth.
Dude,
right?
Not rattled at all. Not rattled at all.
Not even a little bit.
Completely ready. Totally ready for the moment.
I think
I've never seen anything like it.
Not only that, but he took a talent that was better than marginal, but not something that was on anybody's radar, and he turned Tank Bell into a star.
Dude, and they're like besties too, apparently. So
this team is in such good shape for the future.
They love him. The team loves him.
It is amazing when you have a true franchise quarterback, what actually happens to your team.
Overnight.
And this is the weird
Like
thing.
that.
And
Boom.
I'm the biggest CJ fan. I've been touting him all along, but I'll say
Amen.
this. CJ Stroud, which I never thought I would say at the end of his first year. CJ Stroud is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL now,
Now.
right now.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I mean, it's just his numbers are there. You can't say it's not true.
Unless he goes out and falls flat on his face this weekend, that stands.
I can't even
Don't
imagine
see it
that. Whether they win or lose.
No. I just mean fall flat on his face. Right.
Like unless he pulls like a Dak Prescott or something. So this is something I thought deserves to be mentioned about the AFC North. They are the first team to have all 4 teams in their conference with a winning record.
Crazy.
Since 1939.
Fucking bananas, dude. Never.
And you can't even compare an era from 1939 to today. So in the modern era of football, nobody's ever done it. Just them. And it's unbelievable. Last year, we sent a playoff team in with a losing record. And this division doesn't have a single losing record. And only two of their teams made it to the playoffs. So that's remarkable. If the AFC North was in the NFC, yeah, it'd be so dominant, it would be just fucking stupid. All 4 of those teams would be in the playoffs. It's crazy. So good on them. I thought that should be pointed out. So let's zip through these games that happened real quick because there's not a lot of mention on a lot of them because they were neither here nor there. Steelers, Ravens, we both predicted that. Ravens didn't play anybody. Simple. Nope. The Texans and the Colts was that mattered. That was a real game. And we just got done talking about CJ. The Texans won. They won the AFC South. Kudos. And clearly, that it needs to be stated. DeMarco Ryans needs to be in the conversation for head coach of the year. What he's done there is remarkable. CJ Stroud is rookie of the year. I'd make the argument he may even be MVP. Because no player is more important to their team in the NFL, including Deshaun Jackson. Not Deshaun Jackson, but Lamar in Baltimore.
Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
More important than probably he is to their success. Because if you remove him from that team, they win 2 games, maybe not 10.
And shouldn't being a rookie factor in a little bit too?
It's just impressive.
Why should
Lamar's going to get it? But this guy should be at least thinking about him too.
Certainly in the conversation at this point, for crying out loud.
Jags and the Titans, just what a tremendous disappointment that game was. The Jags got a lot of things that they got to deal with in the offseason, but I'm not defending my boys here, but at the end of the day, their quarterback was only healthy maybe 6 games out of the entire year.
He was a skeleton of himself.
Yeah. Concussions, shoulder issues, knee issues. He's going to need he needs multiple surgeries in the offseason.
And they were injured all over the place.
Defense was crippled. Offensive line was crippled. They lost their starting and best wide receiver, Christian Kirk, for 4 or 5 games. It was an absolute mess. And they still almost made the playoffs. I know. There was just nothing left in the tank, and they were too injury riddled. In that game, they looked tired and defeated to me.
Yep. They were already defeated, dude, before that game
started. They had no answer for Travis Henry. Just Derrick. I always do that. Derrick Henry. Never, ever, ever, ever. They couldn't stop him to save their lives. Vikings, Lions. We both predicted Lions. Exactly what happened. We knew that Dan Campbell, after the Dallas debacle, was not going to take his foot off the gas. Falcons, Saints. Saints destroyed the Falcons. We anticipated that. Scoring from submission formation. That's what I prefer to call it. Because victory formation doesn't convey to people who don't understand the formation they were in. Submission formation is what they were really doing. Because victory formation just means that everybody knows that nobody's going anywhere and you're taking a knee. But really the defense is in submission. and then you run a play and risk players, that's bullshit.
It's dumb as fuck, dude.
I don't care who made what decision. Jameis Winston, you're off my football team. Good luck finding another job. You directly, because now you just deballed your head coach. Doug Allen can scream how this is wrong. This never should have happened. But what they did is they went to that huddle and said, fuck Doug Allen. How are you going to coach these guys now?
I don't know.
So I don't know
That's a
how they're
good
going to fix
question.
that problem, but that's huge.
Yeah, it's a dumpster fire
It really
right
is.
there, dude.
That's just really, really bad. Jets and Pats, we took the Pats. I don't know what happened there. Their offense is just that bad. Bucks and Panthers,
Enough said.
it's a pathetic football game team. I don't know how anybody sat through that 9-0. Just no. But
Nobody did.
the Bucks won the NFC South, so kudos to them and Baker Mayfield proving that he can get it done. Browns and Bengals, we both took the Bengals. The Browns didn't start anybody at all. I mean, and they shouldn't have. It would have been stupid to do so. Bears Packer, a little bit of a shock to me. The Bears are in the game the whole way, but Jordan Love stood up and he got himself in the playoffs. So kudos to him.
He did.
Now,
exactly.
Quickly, I'd like to say, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but Jordan Love, who has in the back half of the season proven to be better than I expected him to be, does not mean that he's Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. It's absurd.
No. And there's people starting to talk about him in the same conversation,
right?
Because he's the succeed. It's succession. Right. I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean anything. Your predecessors are Hall of Famers. You're nothing right now. So let's not even talk about it.
Colin Cowards and Skip Baylesses and all these guys that what the odds are a team to have 3 consecutive Hall of Famers and quarterback. This kid's got about 15 years ago until we get there. So shut the hell up. He had a great back half of his season, and a lot of his yards and touchdowns were in the last 3 games. So good for him. Kudos. But everybody, pump the brakes. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Way too soon.
Yeah. Because remember in the beginning of the season how bad it was? So Cowboys Skins, I'm surprised Skins even tried to score. Because if they would have won that game, they would have fell out of franchise quarterback spot. There's no way they were giving that up. No way. Just none.
We'll go with that.
Broncos, Raiders, completely expected the Raiders to win that. They won it pretty easily. Both of us did. Eagles, Giants. The Eagles they should forfeit their playoff game. Just don't even go. Just fucking, I don't even know what to say. You started the fucking season 10-1. Jesus Christ.
This is pretty bad,
just
dude.
Talk
about the all-time biggest meltdown of all.
Just go away. The Hawks and the Cards. Hawks won. Didn't see that game. Few plays here and there. 21-20, though. At least they put on a show. Rams, Niners. Another one, 21-20. Rams won. We both took the Niners, but we figured. All right, y'all, you're not going to know about this. We had a huge glitch. Chad and I live rurally, and we live over 800 miles apart in 2 different states, although we're brothers. And so sometimes we have huge internet connection issues. We experienced our worst one so far doing this for coming up on a year. So we apologize, but here's a good thing is we're going to edit this and you're not even going to know. So we were talking about the Rams and the 49ers, and that was a 21-20 game. And that was the second team against the second team. And what I gathered from that game is the Rams second team is 1 point better than the 49ers second team because no player worth their salt played in this game. So it doesn't mean anything. Chiefs and the Bolts. I took the Chiefs. Chad took the Bolts. The Chiefs mounted one of the greatest offensive furies in the history of sport and won 13-12. And I'll take it.
I really just took the Bolts again to spite the Chiefs.
You're just trying to light a fire into their ass. And then we get to the Bills and the Fins, and Josh Allen and the Bills going to the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. Going to the Super Bowl.
Now I must say something. I stand corrected. The Bills are a legitimate team. The fact that Josh Allen can and will try to give the other team a lot of bonuses and benefits. He is dynamic and can overcome
Okay.
those accidents. 3 like just like mind blowing. I'm like, what, dude? Why would you? No, why? But again, at the end, he overcomes it. What are you gonna do?
All right. So let's break down those turnovers. The first pass, it was third and forever. They made a decision on the sideline that they were going to go for it full on. The worst case scenario is it would be intercepted. That ball ended up being intercepted, but 52 yards away. They would have punted on the next anyway. What difference did it make? That was actually a collective decision from the offensive coordinator, the quarterback, and the coach that it was worth taking that shot because if
Throw a
it
punt.
failed and it was picked off, it'd be like punting the ball. True enough.
Throw a punt. Okay.
The one in the back of the end zone, there was DPI. If you watch that play, the receiver coming across got pushed in his back and fell down, and then the ball was intercepted.
All right.
The fumble was a really good defensive play. Shit happens. He was taking a risk he shouldn't have. I'll put that one on Josh Allen. But this is what I want to say because there's so many people, and you're not one of them, but
No.
especially in the
Allen's a beast,
in,
dude.
in, in the alphabet soup of ESPN and FS1 and all these people. Here's the deal. In that game where all of them were talking shit that he got lucky, that he played poorly, he was
No.
30 of 38 for 359 yards throwing, plus another 67 yards rushing for 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. And again,
It's
we just explained that.
it's not like somebody else overcame the problems.
He
He
did.
himself overcame the
He was
problem.
15 rushes for 67 yards. And that's after he was sacked 4 times. So after the negative yardage is taken off, he was still 15 for 67, right? Over the last 4 years, he has won his division 4 times. Who's the other quarterback to do that? Only one, Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
He is 49-18 as a starting quarterback over the last 4 years. That's 12 and a half fucking wins a year. Who's the only guy with a better record? Pat Mahomes at 51-16.
I know.
He has more yards from scrimmage than any player in the entire NFL except for who? Pat
Pat
Mahomes.
Mahomes.
He has
Allen is a dog.
turnover to touchdown ratio. He's number 2 in the NFL. Who's the only guy with a better one? Oh yeah, Pat Mahomes. What I'm saying is that while Josh Allen is not the best quarterback in the NFL because that's Pat Mahomes, he's fucking
He's
number 2.
damn near it. And I have always said between Burrow and Allen, that's the number 2 spot,
Sure.
right? Like,
Yep. Or
and
Jackson, maybe
now,
Lamar.
only now
But
is
he
he
won the
really like,
MVP 3 years ago.
I know, but
He just
it
doesn't
was
win in
like
the playoffs.
it was a 1-year thing. He didn't win in the playoffs. And so, can you do it again? And can you win in the playoffs? And if he does that, well then, okay, well now you're you're in there in rarefied air, right? But maybe Baker Mayfield makes it the whole way to the Super Bowl and wins.
That's funny. Actually, okay, we're gonna get to the games that are coming up. So that was last week's stuff. There's a couple of things that I think that people should know that are very, very interesting before we start talking about the playoffs.
Okay,
Because I did a little research here.
let's go.
I'm gonna need my bionic eyes.
All right.
So the top 4 seeds, 2 in the AFC, 2 in the NFC.
Hmm?
Top 4 teams. The worst record against playoff teams, and I mean teams that are in the playoffs this year, who do you think that is? So the teams are the Bills, Baltimore, 49ers, Cowboys. Who has the worst record against playoff teams?
Cowboys.
Wrong. Baltimore. They're 5-4. Number 2 is the Cowboys. They're 4-3.
Okay.
Next is the 49ers at 5-3. The Buffalo Bills, against teams that are going to be in the playoffs this year, are 6-1.
Yeah, I know they've. That's the thing that I learned today about their record. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that means a lot actually to me.
So they are the headiest team headed into the playoffs. I obviously am all about them because I picked them to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, and I'd love to see that come to fruition. But aside from that,
I would love to for you.
6-1 in the playoffs against playoff teams that are in the playoffs this year on their regular season schedule. They're 6-1. Nobody's even close to that. Baltimore, the team that everybody's anointing, have the worst record. They're 5-4. Now, they played 2 more teams, but that's because they're 3 teams from their division went. So those where the extra 2 games come from. And they lost to Pittsburgh twice. And they lost to Cleveland the last time they played them in Baltimore. So here's another caveat. The Eagles, they're 1-3 in their last 4 games as they roll backwards into the playoffs. The teams that they played are a combined 25-43. And they were 3-1. And here's funny. The team that they actually beat had a winning record, and that was the Seahawks. That's it. So that's that. I find that funny. The Rams,
Bizarre.
in their last 8 games, are 7-1. And their only loss was in overtime to the Ravens in Baltimore.
Crazy.
The Rams are hot as hell. The 2 hottest teams in the entire NFL right now are the Rams and the Bills.
That's why I'm picking the Rams this week.
And I would also include the Detroit Lions because they got screwed in Dallas. They should be the number 2. They shouldn't be playing the Rams.
But I think the Rams are.
I think that's everything I wanted to get to. Here we go. Oh, end of the season. This last week, I went 11-5. Chad went 9-7. So for the year, I'm 179-93, and Chad is 167-105.
Yep. That makes me roughly 7% worse than you.
Yeah, I'm at 66%. You're at 61, so it's
5% worse than you. Okay,
that seems reasonable to me. It's not horrible. You beat me in the draft thing, although I was right about the players. But that's another thing.
There's an argument there.
And here's another thing too. I forgot to mention. The Bills down the stretch were 5-0. They had to be 5-0. It was the only way it could go, or they weren't even going to make the playoffs. But in that 5-0, they were 3-0 against playoff teams and 2-0 against division winners.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy cool. So this team is much. My problem isn't with our audience. My problem isn't with my brother, Chad. My problem is that I get so tired of the talking heads who act like that he is a turnover machine. In the last 4 years, with 4 conference championships and 2 AFC championship games that he lost, 1 to Cincinnati and 1 to Kansas City. Other than that, these guys have been banked the entire time. You could make the argument that more talented teams beat him in those championship games. But talent isn't everything all the time. Allen has played well in those games, regardless of what anybody thinks. But this idea that he is a turnover machine just simply isn't true.
As a bona fide Chiefs fan, diehard, 40 years plus, Josh Allen's the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, hallelujah. Like, that's what you want.
Sure.
You want good competition. You want other great quarterbacks in the league. You want it to be, a battle. Why would you want it to be otherwise? That's asinine. So hallelujah. I applaud Josh Allen, and I'm glad he's here.
Well,
So
and I'll go back. This was Roger Staubach, whom I love, although I have a lifelong hatred for the Cowboys. But Roger Staubach is probably the classiest guy in the history of the NFL.
yeah.
And when I was a kid, he was asked in an interview by CBS Sports pregame. He sat down and he did an interview with one of their, I think it was Irv Cross at the time. He used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
And he asked him, they were going into the playoffs. This was, and they were going to have to, they were getting ready to play in the championship game. And Fran Tarkenton was quarterback of the Vikings. Whoever wins, going to go play Pittsburgh.
Uh-huh.
And at the end, and they asked him because Fran Tarkenton had been injured and had been really in a bad way and didn't even play in their divisional playoff game. And the substitute came in and they still won. And he asked it if does this make it easier to get you to the Super Bowl? And his response was, Fran took off a week, and I hope he's as close to 100% as he wants, because if I'm going to beat the Vikings to get to the Super Bowl, I want to beat the best version of the Vikings so no one has an excuse.
Amen.
And that
No
stuck with me
questions.
my whole life. I was 12 years old or whatever the hell that was, and that
Yep.
stuck with me my whole life.
Yep. Let them rest. Let me get the best.
I want to play. I
Fucking
do not
right.
want anybody injured. I want to beat you with the two best versions of our team. So when we go to the Super Bowl, no one has an excuse. Brilliant. Love him.
Let there be no
That's right.
questions. I
All
love
right.
it.
So playoffs are coming.
Let's do it. Playoffs. Playoffs.
Playoffs? Talk about the playoffs.
Playoffs.
Well, not with you, bro. Not at that time, because we ain't talking about the playoffs because you guys suck.
You know what? The Browns and the Texans are going to the playoffs.
Yes, they are. And that's the first team on my board we're going to talk about. Browns and the Texans. Who you got?
So, Joe fucking Flacco is a problem. He
Huge.
wins in the
Yep.
playoffs. He routinely wins in the playoffs, and he's routinely won leading into the playoffs this season out of nowhere. Like nobody expected that to happen.
With the
And
best
if you
defense in
did,
the NFL.
well, and then there's that. Like fucking bananas.
All right, I got my picks right here for the
That
Rex.
said, that said, I couldn't really see it, but I'm going
It's right,
Texans.
dude.
I'm going
It's
Texans.
right here. You can't see that?
I'm going Texans. And the reason why is because of CJ Stroud.
Gotcha. That's
I think this kid is on another level. He's on a roll right now. I think D'Amico Ryans is a wonderful coach, has proven to be phenomenal first-year coach. I think the team is clicking. It's a tough choice because the Browns are who they are. Like I said, it's Joe, and it's the defense and all that. But I'm going to ride with the Texans. I'm going with CJ.
okay.
You got the Browns, right?
I do have the Browns. And I have good reason for that.
Sure.
Person, their coach, the Browns coach Kevin Stefanski and D'Amico Ryans are the only two obvious choices for coach of the year.
Mhm.
The Browns have the best defense in the NFL. They have a veteran quarterback. Their wide receiving crew are as healthy as they have been all year long. And that extra week by not having to play against Cincinnati, even better now yet.
Good point.
And they have great playmakers. Their running game is not as good as they'd like it to be because Chubb got hurt way earlier in the season, but their defense is on fire. I'm not picking the Browns because of Joe Flacco. I'm picking the Browns because overall they're the better equipped team, and they have been for a couple of years. And their only problem was having a true quarterback that could lead them where they needed to go. But they're just overall a more talented team, and this is new.
Fair.
And that's the only reason I'm doing it. But if the Texans win because CJ Stroud goes nuts, I won't even be remotely surprised by that.
Yeah, I know you'll root for him.
The Finns and the Chiefs, I'll take this one. It's the Chiefs, and it is going to be 0 degrees or less when kickoff at 8 o'clock on Saturday night happens. Miami is shit on the road and shit against teams that can actually play football. They're 1-5 against teams with a winning record this year. On the road, they're total garbage. That they're going to play in 0 degree weather and Kansas City and win? No way in hell.
I'll give you one. They are 0-10 straight in games below 40 degrees.
And their best edge rusher and their best cornerback aren't even playing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as Kansas City can catch the football half of the time, they'll win this game.
Well, Kelsey's rested. Pacheco's rested. Petty is rested. So should be all right. You just need those guys.
Yep. Yeah. I just can't see the Finns doing anything here. They're terrible on the road. And Tua, by the way, in Miami on a nationally televised game to take the number 2 seed, played like shit.
I know.
Threw for less than 200 yards, 50%, threw a couple picks, just garbage.
Yeah. Looked bad.
Steelers and the Bills. Well, you know who I'm picking here.
Dude, it's the Bills. As much as I'll root for the Steelers, it's the Bills. I will also, sit back in awe at the Adonis that is Josh Allen and, be all about it. But yeah, Bills all the way.
I got nothing against the Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin's done an amazing job. Maya Rudolph, who used to be on SNL, a black woman in her 40s, is playing quarterback for them right now. They're really off. Pittsburgh is the first team to go in the playoffs in the Super Bowl era where they've scored less points than have been scored against them. And they're a 10-7 team. So that's all I got to say there. This is an interesting game to me. Packers and the Cowboys. Now I'm taking the Cowboys. I'm rooting for the Packers.
Of course.
Cowboys are at home and they're really, really good at home. They haven't lost a game at home. You have to go back to the 2021 season until they lost a goddamn game at home. Jordan Love, who has been playing magnificently in the back half of this season, and particularly the last 3 games of this season. Right. And he's very confident and he feels really good right now. I think at halftime, this game's going to look really super close. Dallas has too much for Green Bay to keep up with them. That's all. They're going to fade in the second half, and Dallas probably win by 10 points. That's my take.
They got the best receiver in the league, dude. CeeDee Lamb is the deal, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
only guy with better numbers than him is Tyreek Hill, and they're so close.
And actually, CD edged him.
Nope. Tyreek has 1,799. He has 1,752.
Just by yards, but there's other metrics if you weigh it all out.
Tyreek has more.
I think there's an argument that CD is.
But they're interchangeable. They're the top 2 in the entire NFL.
They're right there.
And by the way, Green Bay's defense, they're not going to be able to stop what they do. If Dallas jumps out to an early lead, Dak Prescott's going to throw for 400 fucking yards. I mean, that's just the way they roll. So it's boys all the way. I don't like it, but Rams and the Lions is probably the most interesting game of this entire thing. So we're going to skip that one. We'll come back to it because that's the most fun game coming. Bro, let's finish out Eagles and Bucks. Who you got in the Eagles and the Bucks?
I'm taking the Bucks.
So am I. The Eagles have just hit the bed so hard. All
Who?
they had to do was win one game against the Cardinals or the Giants in their last two games, and they were the 2 seed. They couldn't even
Why
beat
should I
that.
believe in the Eagles? Why should I
None.
believe in the Eagles right now?
No,
You've
no, you
given me
should.
no reason.
This is my and this is
The Bucks have given me way more
way
reason to
more.
believe.
So here's the thing about the Eagles that I find very interesting currently. Their problems aren't talent. Their problems are in the locker room, and it is
Yes,
destroying this team.
culture.
And you cannot fix that from last week
Mm-mm.
to this week. It
Nope.
can't happen.
Mm-mm.
They are going to play the way they've been playing. They are not going to do anything unless Jalen Hurts rushes for like 150 yards and totally takes this game over. They cannot win
He's banged
because
up.
there's locker room issues. The biggest poison in the NFL is locker room issues. And they got the worst locker room issues right now than any team in the
Maybe.
playoffs.
Must be.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but until they fix that, with all that talent, Eagles are
I think
dead in the
it's
water.
I think it's their leadership, dude. I think it's Sirianni. I think he's a man child, and that flows all the way down through it.
Well,
Unfortunately, I think he's a good coach. Otherwise, I think he's really good at X's and O's. But if you're gonna run through the locker room of another team and shout, "What do you think now, Kansas City?" You know what I mean? Dude, have you ever seen Bill Belichick or somebody like that
Tom
ever do any
Landry,
shit
Chuck
like
Noll,
that? There's so much more
Bill
above that,
Cowher,
man.
Joe Gibbs.
That's what
No
I'm
great
saying,
coach.
dude.
No coach.
Nope,
No coach would do a fucking
they
thing
don't
like
do
that.
that. You're a clown,
Even
bro.
idiot coaches that are like, playoffs? We thought that's the playoffs? They wouldn't even do that. So yeah, Eagles are just trash right now because their serious issues on that team have nothing to do with talent. Because they're the most talented team in the NFC. Combine both sides of the ball. They have a better defense when they're working together than San Francisco does.
They were the fucking talk of the town 3/4 of the way through this season.
They were 10 and
They had
1.
it.
10 and 1. They ended up 11 and
How do you
fucking 6.
how? And
Garbage.
we're picking the Bucks.
The Bucks. Baker Mayfield in the Bucks. I think they're going to win because you know why? That team is unified, man. They are killing it, man. They love
One's a
Baker.
train
And they
wreck.
want Baker to stick around.
What's the trajectory? I'm sorry, but you're moving in two
Yeah.
different directions.
I can't. I mean, my logical side of my brain goes, the talent disparity here is huge.
Amen.
But if everybody in the locker room hates each other, you can't play as a team. That shit's done.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get to the Rams and Lions.
All right.
This
Let's do
game.
this.
So I want to say this before we even get going. There's so much good stuff happening here. The Browns and the Texans with Deshaun Watson and going to Cleveland, and now he's going back to Texas. You got the
Tyreek Hill coming back to Kansas City.
Tyreek Hill with the Finns coming back to Kansas City. The Rams with Stafford coming back to where he came from with a quarterback who they made a trade for. Oh my God, this shit is
That's the biggest
crazy,
one.
man. Like you couldn't have set
This is
up
the biggest.
the wild card round better.
This is the biggest one for me, man.
But the Rams line,
That storyline.
this
dude.
is the game. This is it.
Yes. Stafford coming back home.
And I
This is
love
crazy
Matt
for me,
Stafford.
dude.
I fucking love him.
Oh man, I
But
love
I'm
this
going
game.
with the Lions.
Woo!
And this is why. There's two reasons why. A, Dan Campbell. I love him.
There.
But the Lions are at home. The Lions are actually shouldn't be at home. They are a 13-4 team if the Dallas win should have been theirs, right? They should be the 2 seed. They're at home. There's so much to prove here. Dan Campbell has changed everything about that organization. I think Matt Stafford and his offense, at least on the wide Amon St. Brown is number 3 behind the 2 guys, Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb that we were talking about.
Right.
And I mean, right behind them, not like hundreds of yards, like 75 yards, like he's right there. They have one of the top 3 running games in the NFL. And Jared Goff, in terms of numbers and statistics, is a top 7 quarterback in the NFL.
Sure.
And they have one of the best offensive lines.
Mm-hmm.
However, Matthew Stafford has a bank fucking 1,000-yard runner, 2 incredible wide receivers, and a great tight end. And their defense,
And
while
he's mad.
it bends a lot, it doesn't break a lot. This is so even, right? But this is what I want to have happen. I need the Lions to win this game so they get to play Dallas next week against Dallas in Dallas and exact their revenge.
Fair enough.
And then they go on and they play the 49ers, and the 49ers go to the Super Bowl.
So I love the reasoning behind the pick, and I back that up wholeheartedly. And there's no argument for me other than the fact that I am taking the Rams, and I'm taking Matty Stafford going back home for revenge. Sorry, I just
No, it's not revenge. He wanted out, and they let him out.
I know, but like they didn't ever give him anything to help him. That's why he wanted out. Like he just got
He was
fucking
dying there.
pigeonholed.
Do you think if
Yes.
Dan Campbell would have been there, he would have left? Probably not.
Man, I don't even know,
But
dude.
here's the
It's hard
thing.
to say, but
Chad, you're my brother. I love you. Look at me.
love
You
too.
had me at Matt Stafford. It's all the reason you need. Matt Stafford has been playing out of his goddamn mind. I love him. You know how much I love Matt. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. This game to me is a coin toss. This is the closest, best game, period, of this weekend. I think this game ends like 38-35. 35-31.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a baller game.
Agreed.
If it goes to overtime, I wouldn't even be remotely shocked.
Yeah, I think they're going to light it up, dude, and it's going to be the best one, and to me it's the best storyline.
Think about Stafford's coming back to a field that he played on for a dozen years, right?
Yeah.
This guy knows that field inside and out. I can tell you right now, when he's introduced pre-game, he's going to be like the prodigal son returning home. That place is going to go crazy for him.
Yeah.
They'll boo him during the game, but they're going to give him his props because he deserves them.
He'll get his love. Yeah.
So it's going to be so much fun to watch this game. I'm looking so forward to it. Of all the games this weekend that I want to see, that is number 1.
Same.
Yeah, number 2 for me, because it seems to be the next game that could actually, where I think that it's a coin toss, and that's the Browns and the Texans, and because of CJ Stroud. This kid is just different.
The good news is that's first. So
right. So it's going to be a very fun weekend of football. I am very confident in the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Cowboys. Not so much in the Browns and the Lions. And the only way the Eagles win this game is if they have a come to Jesus moment that none of us are aware of, and they manage to get their shit mentally together before they go to Tampa. That's the only way.
Right.
Otherwise they lose. But if I end up 3-3 on this whole thing, I wouldn't be surprised. Playoffs are playoffs period are the hardest games to predict in NFL. They just always are.
Yeah, we should expect it to go down. Our winning percentage should go way down.
Well, you know what? You're playing for everything now. It's not, if we lose this game, we're fine. Oh, we're chipped up and we're going to rest some guys because we're fine. Nope, not anymore. It's all in or all out. And by the way, guys who are chipped up, who aren't feeling well, who aren't playing, aren't up to 100% potential, they're still going to play.
Right.
Unless they can.
Yep.
I mean, literally can't. They're going to play. And most of these teams, honestly, Browns are healthy, probably the healthier they've been all year. Texans are healthy again. The Chiefs are healthy. Unfortunately, that doesn't help them with their wide receiving core, but it will in 0-degree fucking weather. The Bills, the Steelers just, I don't think, match up well with them. The Cowboys are too much for the Packers. They're just, Lions and the Rams are just such a coin toss. And the Bucks, I mean, how can you not take them? The Eagles, it's the from what they did last year to what happened in the last 6 games of this season is remarkable to me. I've never seen a team implode like this. And if they
This,
get bounced by Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs after going to the Super Bowl last year and starting this season 10-1, whoa,
that would be probably the first time ever.
ever. And we said, even when they were limping around, barely winning at 10-1, we on this show said numerous times, that's how much talent they have, that they can play like shit and they still win. There were games where they were behind like 3 touchdowns at halftime and then would win. And their luck ran out. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I love playoff time. This is the best time to be a fan of the NFL. Where I'm from right now, the horrible ref shit and all the other stuff in the rearview mirror. Let's play football. And in case anybody didn't notice, that last weekend of NFL football, and I know this came from the NFL down to the referees through the president of the referee organization, that you're going to stand the fuck aside and let these guys play football. Because last week I watched, I watched the best games in full length. I think in the Texans game, there might have been 4 flags in the entire fucking game. Like, it's like almost immediately they did a 180. I hope they continue to do that.
Same.
So I guess we can wrap this whole thing up.
If they want me to keep watching, they'll
That's
continue
right.
to do 180.
Because
also, here, can I see one more
sure,
thing?
yeah, we can. Yeah, go.
You know what? NFL, fuck you. You know why? Because you're putting the Chiefs game on the Peacock channel.
Yep. At 8:00 at night.
And people have to pay extra money to watch the Chiefs and Dolphins game for the playoffs. It was understandable somewhat when you did it during the regular season. Now you're doing it for the playoffs. This is supposed to be something that everybody can see, and now you're making me pay $6, and I'm contemplating whether or not I'm going to watch my favorite team that I've watched for 40 years play a playoff game over $6 when I could shit $6, but it's the principle of it.
Right.
It fucking makes me angry.
If you're going to have games during the season that are going to be out of network coverage, and you got to go to your local sports bar, you got to pay a couple of bucks to watch it at home if you choose to do so, fine. The playoffs should always be free, period. Yeah, and by the way, and if you don't want to do that, then give me the option, and not this fucking NFL package bullshit, because the NFL package does not include every game. Give me the option to watch any game, anytime, anywhere, during the week at a certain price, and I'll pay it. Maybe. Depends what you charge me. But generally speaking, if you give me total control of what games I'm going to watch and for one price, then I don't care what you're doing anywhere else. It won't matter to me. But this piecemealing thing that they're doing, like if you don't have Prime Video, can't watch Thursday games, right? That's bullshit. Your only option is a streaming service. Now you put it on the Peacock, a streaming service. Paramount, fortunately, has CBS, and I have Paramount. If I didn't have Paramount, I would never be able to see my local team, which is the Jags, because the AFC is on CBS. Wow. If Paramount didn't carry CBS, I wouldn't even be able to see a home game at my own house.
Wow.
Unless
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
So the NFL is opting their own fans out of their own packaging deals. And it's just a horn to me how they're doing this. Every game. The NFL, you want to know the truth? The NFL should be available on any network that covers the NFL for any playoff that anybody wants to fucking watch. You are an organization that grossed and profit $9 billion last year, And now you're going to charge us $6 to watch a goddamn wild card playoff game? Fuck you.
One game.
Only one game. But by the way, unless you have a cable package or you pay for ESPN Plus, half of those games are on ESPN. You can't watch them either, right?
Good
It's
point.
bullshit, man. So I just go to James' house because he knows how to steal all that stuff for free. So,
All right, brother. Well, our connection's struggling again, so we should probably just hang it up here.
all right, brother. I will we'll do the shout out. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to us. Of course, we are smarter than everybody else. You just don't pay us that way. Everybody enjoy the playoffs. We'll have plenty to say about this next week. And please like and subscribe. And until next week, as always, peace out.